So I just finished up my most major project with the Harbor Freight backhoe to date. It was building this road up this hillside to connect the lower portion and the upper portion of my property. I moved, I do not know how much dirt, but you can tell by looking at it, it is a lot. You can see the ground level at where it was, and then how far I dug down, and then how wide I dug down. Every bit of this dirt was excavated with this backhoe and then scooped out with the front end loader of the tractor that I borrowed from my dad. But the reason I'm making this video is because I made an overview of this thing right before I started this project, while I was in the middle of building my retaining wall down there. And at that time, that was about as much as I had used this thing for. I dug into this hillside a little bit with it just to get some dirt for the retaining wall, and I dug out the footer for the retaining wall, and that was about all I had used it for at that point. So I bought it brand new, and when I made the video, I hadn't done the first service yet. And the owner's manual says not to idle the engine up until you've done the first oil change. I think it's 25 hours, if I remember right. So I figured after I used it for that retaining wall, and then I dug into the hillside about halfway for this, I figured I was probably about there. So when I made the video, one of my main complaints about this thing was that it's way too slow. And I even said in the video, I don't think that idling it up is going to make that much of a difference, because it's just, at the end of it's just powering a hydraulic pump. But I got quite a few commenters telling me that it actually does move a lot faster once you idle it up, but I was just hesitant to do it since the owner's manual says not to. I know it's most likely not actually an issue, but why take the risk? I'd rather just do what the owner's manual says. Once I got about a quarter of the way into this project, I figured I was at the 25-hour mark. It was probably about time to change the oil, so I did the oil change right here in the driveway. The oil that came out of it looked exactly like the oil I put in it, so it wasn't needed. But then once I knew that it had fresh oil in it, I decided now's the time to see if I was wrong about my prediction that it's not going to make a difference idling it up. And I will say confidently, this thing is probably about 50% better once you idle it up. It's stronger and it moves, I'd say 35% faster, all the movements. It doesn't make it anywhere near the speed of like a regular excavator or anything, but it is definitely significantly faster. And the most noticeable thing is the strength increase. It is a lot stronger at pulling big rocks out of the ground and scooping big chunks of dirt out. That is how I see people damaging these things. I've heard about the people cracking the booms and cracking the buckets, and some people talk about bending different portions and breaking parts. I can definitely see that having it idled up. If you're doing like really significant work with it and you feel like you're stressing it, it might be a good idea to idle it down a little bit, just so you know it's not revved up so high that it has the power to damage itself. But for anyone that thinks these machines aren't capable or they're not good for anything, I did this. It was about 3 days of excavating to do this, and I'm sure it would have usually went faster, but the soil here is very, very extremely rocky, and I would have had it in 2 days, but I spent almost an entire day digging through a rock shelf. Once I got the backhoe up on top of it and had better leverages, it was able to break the rocks apart, but digging itself uphill, it just couldn't. It was just scratching off of it. Mentioning the capability of it, this thing it can work in all types of different uneven terrain. I wasn't too sure about it, but like this morning, I've had it on this hillside. This slopes this way pretty bad, and I've got a spot in the dirt right here where I had the outrigger all the way over here. So I was on quite a slope and digging down into this hillside, widening this road, and then I started from the bottom and dug my way up. So it was climbing up this hill. It's capable. I think there are actually some instances where this can get itself into positions better than a full-size backhoe, like a tractor with a backhoe attachment on the back. I think there's plenty of places that you could actually get this thing that you wouldn't be able to get a traditional backhoe into. This thing really, really is not bad, especially for the price. I'm about to turn this thing back into trailer mode, and then I'm gonna get my truck and I'm gonna tow it down to the lower part of the property, and I got a couple of fence posts I need to dig out of the ground. I'm gonna use it for that, and I'll show you guys some real-time footage of what it looks like, how fast it is now that I've idled it up and done the oil change. So I'm not gonna be as in-depth in this video as I was in my first video about how to switch this thing between the towing versus digging modes. But I'll do a quick little overview, skip out the boring parts. So you can see once you take those outriggers off and you lower it back down and you have the boom stretched all the way out, as you continue to raise it, it just raises the rear end up right off the ground. That allows you to take the axles off. Just pick it right back up the same way it was. And I've noticed if I sit on it kind of sideways like this and put my weight all the way towards the back, it won't pivot the front of it up so bad as I'm trying to pick the boom up. And if you guys can hear it, I have it idled down as low as it can possibly go right now, just to keep it a little bit quieter for the video. That's why it's moving so slow and sounds like it's bogging down, just trying to move itself. I guess I should have checked that first fence post right there before I pulled up to it, because I just pushed around on it and pulled right out. But this one sheared off right at the base, so I need to dig the chunk of concrete out because there's a little bit of a cut off, broke off piece of metal pipe sticking out. And if I run over that, it'll probably cut whatever tire rolls over it. So I know that you're not supposed to use it like this. That's something else a lot of people commented. But for what I'm doing here, I'm not worried about it, because I'm just gonna dig the dirt around the concrete. And then it's just a small little concrete chunk. Yes, I will put the pin through the coupler lock, just as a little bit of extra security, because I know it does put force on this, digging it this way. But it's definitely on there good. Well, that's the video. That's what I was wrong about. It's even more capable than I thought. Let me know in the comments if you like this one. There's plenty of Harbor Freight content coming up. I've got my whole series that I've been releasing about the process of building that road, and there's all kinds of projects that I got coming up that I'm going to be using it for. So if you're thinking about buying one of these or something, I've got plenty of content on what they're like to use. Stay tuned, and thank you guys for watching.